Hey guys, welcome to Halloween Daily. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Cheers.
Hi.
I am excited to be talking to all of you about the Dead Thing, and I think it's going to make a perfect Valentine's Day weekend viewing for a lot of horror fans that have Shudder. Shout out to Shudder for dropping it on Valentine's Day. I think it's very fitting.
Yeah, that's great.
Um, Elric, we'll start with you. Um, can you tell us a little bit about how this project originated for you and what excited you the most about directing this feature?
Well, like all ideas, they come in various ways. Like we were trying to make a movie that was just a little too high budget for where we were, and in terms of just scale. And so we started to come up with something that was like, what could we do? Habit, the movie by Larry Fessenden, was always an inspiration. That's a vampire tale, New York in the '90s, and it's very stripped down, but it's focused around character, focused around performance. And so a movie like that, was definitely in my head. And I happened to like work with somebody who was talking a lot about dating app stories that were very funny to me and enjoyed it. And she had a very different character, kind of the opposite type of character, but it definitely set my mind racing to what would the horror version of could stem from dating apps. And so again, that took a while for it to kind of blossom into a full story. But I think the challenge and what I was always interested in doing was making a film that's based around a character. I mean, based around not just a film that's based around a group of people being hunted in the woods, right? Like I love those. I love there isn't really a horror type of movie that I don't really. I tend to love almost all types, but there's very few of them that I'd actually want to make. You know what I mean? As a filmmaker, there's a
Right.
different part of me that's got a very different interest than what I love watching sometimes, and so I just knew I wanted to make something that was about the character and focused on that person, how they experience the horror and the question mark of when is it horror, when isn't it horror in this person's, maybe it's somewhat like a descent movie. I love movies about an emotional descent,
Yes.
and so that was the exciting part for me. It was like, and then, once it's rare that you get the first choice actor you would want. That's
Yeah.
probably in indie stuff doesn't happen,
Mhm.
and I thought of Blue for this before I even went out to other people because I didn't think we could go out to Blue at that time. Like when I was first
Mhm.
putting it together, she's just somebody who I had thought of, and then I saw her Instagram and certain photos that made me go, "That's how the character would look at the world," and the gaze of someone
Mhm.
being critical to a movie, which is not talked about very often, but it is. And we kind of funnily enough, I don't even know if the Blue, but there's other people like at the time, like because I didn't know I could go out to you, and it was like, oh yeah, this person, Mikey Madison, will go out to her. Oh, she just booked something. I think it's with Sean Baker. She was busy doing the movie that's probably going to get an Oscar and stuff. But it was funny when you have those Willa Fitzgerald people like who are all doing the movies that are coming out right now that are also interesting. So, but we did, and we got somebody who was very exciting to watch. And then once you cast around that, because you have to cast that person first to make sense of the movie, and then it becomes all about piecing not just your vision. Your vision changes as soon as you lay a first thing down, like casting. But for me, it was really to try to chart someone's emotional descent was an exciting kind of project.
Absolutely. Well, job well done for sure. Blue and Ben, thank you both for hanging out with us. Great job in the film. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and you guys both knock it out the park. Blue, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to you, Ben. Same question. What can you tell audiences going into this that you want them to know about your characters? And then a similar question: what excited you the most about the opportunity to get to play these characters in this project?
I guess what I'd want people to know about Alex going in is, um, I think she's got like a huge inner life and like a lot of autonomy. And I think that for her story right now, her like relationship to men and the way she's dealing with it is just like, I think it's a very interesting way. I think the movie's like it's very interesting in talking about like how women date and like how there is like a lot of fear around dating strangers, going to strangers' homes, letting them into your homes, but it's kind of talked about in this movie, and the way that Alex deals with it is kind of like, I think, both like brave and naive, and I think, yeah, I think she, even though she's very quiet and it doesn't that was like also like a choice for me. It was written that way, but I also, even when it came to like the dialogue parts, I still wanted to make her a quiet person who had a huge inner life that was waiting to come out and then just ultimately wasn't able to,
Hmm.
due to the circumstances given. And I think that's what I really liked about her. I just really wanted to play someone that felt just really like natural and very, where everything going on in her head is just is in her head.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very cool. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I think that, I think the thing that excited me about the whole project was the writing of it. And I just thought it was so well written. I thought that it was Blue's character that really I was more excited to play opposite that character. You know, um, that's what really drew me to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like you guys have mentioned, I mean, it does, hit on the fears of dating and the realities of dating. And again, I've been with my wife almost 20 years, so dating is very different today on with the apps and the technology and everything. And this really is set right in the middle of that, obviously. Now, Elric, you mentioned a little bit already, but I'd love to talk just a little bit more about some of the other genre influences and inspirations that maybe you were consciously trying to lean into, or on the other side, maybe certain tropes of the genre that you definitely wanted to try to avoid if possible.
Yeah, well, I can definitely avoiding like, so the idea was, I watch everything pretty much because of the podcast that I do, and so you
Sure.
do watch the new films, even movies I probably wouldn't watch all of them, if I wasn't
Sure.
doing it. And a lot of them are the internet movies, or the actually, some are really cool. Like Unfriended's actually really well done, and Cam's really a great film. That's a really original piece,
Hmm.
but a lot of them are just high concept done. Really stupid teenagers just being knocked off one by something in the internet. And so the first thing was like, oh, let's do high concept, a horror film about that kind of stems from something kind of trapped in the machine, in a sense, but do it completely realistic, or not completely real. But like make the attempt to do emotionally realistic.
Yes.
How you could actually believe somebody would go down into that path. So the goal was to not do it in the very broad teen way, and so
Hmm.
that was goal number one, I'd say. And so it's good to have that to bang off. But then there's also, like, look, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Pulse. No one's made a better internet movie, and that's 2000. 2000, 25 years later, that movie, I watched it again before he shot, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, we've become what that movie, the way it puts everyone in these little boxes, and they're all, I mean, it's a much bleaker, even bleaker and sadder than what we're creating here. But it just showed that some of that early fear, kind of, I think what we're now feeling about AI, we're at an inception point where it's like, oh yeah, no, you should be scared. Be scared, like be afraid, be very afraid, just like they say, because once something gets out of control, that's what we should be scared of. Everyone's like, oh, but there's some good things about technology. Of course there is. Otherwise, it wouldn't be popular. It's that once you're not controlling the technology, which we are no longer controlling the internet, obviously, and all the ramifications, it can never be put back in the box. And so I think that's very fertile ground for all horror, and I think there's so many stories you can go in there. And then there's just lots of influences. I'm definitely like David Lynch, those, and I don't just mean that like because he recently passed, but that I've always felt his films were sometimes the most emotional, but also sometimes the best horror films. I think
Hmm.
Lost Highway is one of the scariest, has moments that I think are scarier than any horror film I've seen, in terms of just pulling you in to a moment. But I do this long enough. The same Shining. I saw it. I was 8 years old when I watched The Shining, and it's hard to say it's something that rewired your brain completely, but I do think it did. Watching that
Hmm.
movie at that age, it was. I wasn't just scared. I was also hypnotized with a camera going down, not knowing it was a camera, but an image going down a hallway made me. It pulled me in a way that at some point I knew I wanted to do that.
Hmm.
So your influences are all, obviously all over the place, but there was some conscious ones like that.
Well, and it's interesting too, like
Yeah.
you're like we were just talking about Remember My Name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the movie that
Non-horror.
Rick
Yeah.
told me to watch to like really understand what he wanted for the characters, like,
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen Remember My Name, but it's not a horror film,
Right.
you know? So like, I think there are definitely in that way, you can see like my character like has no idea she's in a horror film. Like, I don't even really feel like up even at the end, she's very shocking when it becomes that, you know?
Yeah.
It's almost just kind of, sorry, there's like garbage trucks going by. I don't know if you can hear them.
That's okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to say like some of the biggest influences on the movies are just like dramas, you know, and movies that are more about like with these great subtle female characters, like Alex has an obsessive quality as well, not just Ben's character, not just Kyle, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I did feel some of those influences and some of the Lynchian influence that you mentioned, obviously. And but like you guys are saying, I mean, it does have that grounded in a way that is a character driven movie, even though there is the horror elements there, which you're all talking about, and I definitely appreciated that. And it is a unique, I'd say it's a unique spin on what is could be seen as a a very familiar subgenre, but you guys are handling it like you said, kind of bringing this other genre into it in a lot of ways. Um, for Blue and then Ben, what was the most challenging part of this shoot for you guys? I mean, obviously there's a lot of intimate scenes, and just for Blue, you're on screen pretty much the entire film, almost every frame. What was the toughest part of the shoot for each of you guys?
I think probably like the end of the shoot, like in the desert, that was probably the hardest part, like um running around screaming and crying, like that kind of stuff. Like I get so like, you know, like I get like I don't know, you know,
You're in it, right? You're
Yeah.
in, you're
you
really
know,
the character at that point. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's so the adrenaline and like it's just like you know, it really like wears you down. By the end of it, I was just like totally like defeated. I felt so completely drained. I feel like I'm a lot better at like keeping myself like my stamina up. Like you just get better and better the more you act. But even doing that, I was like by the last day of shooting, because that was the desert sequence was the last sequence we shot. Like I think that was the most challenging for me. All the other stuff, like even like the intimate stuff, like you know, I thought it was really fun. It was like exciting to do,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would almost say the exact opposite, because that's been my world for my whole life.
Yeah.
Running around, being scary, being physical, you know, that's all I do. So like it's challenging for me when I have to talk and I have to do the accent and you know,
Yeah.
but it felt, and I don't know, it felt very natural when we were there, but yeah, I definitely had to like use all of my brain power to make it happen. So the part where I was acting, I found challenging.
I'll tell you the most stressful thing that I never thought about would be stressful for filmmaking was anytime the actors aren't acting and they're waiting. I felt incredible stress. I think it's being in an indie and you'll see someone sitting there for a few hours and you go, we still haven't used them. Oh my God, what are they thinking? What are they thinking about me? And that was a stress I wasn't ready for. I was like, why am I even worrying about that? But like watching Ben have to just sit there for 4 hours before we're ready for him. He seemed very chill about it, but
What happens on every set too.
I know.
I think it's like every set, like you know, everyone's like, sorry, and it's like it's just like I feel like I've been called to set before and like actually just been sitting in like a trailer for like 6 hours and then they don't even need me and they're like, sorry, go home.
Maybe we saw it more because we're all in the same space.
So no, exactly.
There was no trailer.
You see, trailers are not actually for the actors. They're for like the rest of the production. Just get them out of here, get them away. We don't want to see them. Like,
totally,
actors are truly the one. They're like, just leave.
That's true.
Yeah, someone said to me early on in stunts, they're like, they pay us to sit around and wait, and then you do the stunt for free.
That's
it's true.
And that's funny you said that, Elric. I was going to ask like something that surprised you about this whole journey, and that's something there that you didn't plan on being a stressful thing that turned out to be. On the other end of the spectrum, far from the challenges, and what was for all three of you, what was each of your favorite memory from the set of shooting this film? And I guess Elric, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Blue, and then Ben.
I, my funniest was I can't really tell. It kind of spoils the scene in the end, but it's the diving scene where we had a diver.
Oh, yeah.
We had somebody underwater where bubbles started coming up and made it look like one of the lead actors, not Blue, the other actor, was passing gas through a whole scene, and that was off camera. But that was probably the funniest thing I remember. My favorite was you show up to do something that you're very passionate about, and you have a lot at stake. And for me personally, not finances, but just your life and time. You're doing it to change up your life, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And they bring their A game. They don't. It's so easy to hold. People think, oh, actors are all the same. It's like they can show up and take one look at a set that's indie and be like, all right, I'm going to give you 40% because I can do this, and then I can go home. And there's a couple nights I remember, maybe 2 nights, where in the middle, Blue was sleeping on the set of her room. That's the character's room. But because we're shooting so late, and she's
I just started sleeping in my character's bedroom,
in the bedroom, and had decorated herself. And I had a moment of just like, man, that's awesome. Like just for me, it takes so much of a pressure off knowing that person, no matter what, is giving you everything. Or on the other side, like Ben helping me do a stunt when he's not in a scene and wanting to help.
Yeah.
It's, it sounds corny, but emotionally, it means these people have got your back. What you're doing isn't easy. Filmmaking is definitely not easy. I mean, it's been, but we do it because we're in love with movies. Ultimately, there's something about it that we love in that process. So for me, that was like, it was revelatory to ask for help. I've spent a long time not being able to ask for help and realizing that's why you haven't made the movie earlier, because you couldn't ask for money, you couldn't ask for the help you need, and now it made me go, oh no, ask, and if people are cool, they're going to make it happen.
Very cool.
What about you guys?
Very cool. Blue, how about you?
I think my favorite part was like I had this thing. I got to eat a lot of red vines on set because I gave remember reading the script and being like, and Elric did, like, when I first read it and like was like, oh yeah, I want to do it, after we met. He like also like let me like kind of look at the script and like add some things, like give some notes here and there or whatever. And one of the things I was like, Alex needs like a thing,
Yeah.
and like I'm like kind of like a smoker, like I'll probably smoke a cigarette as soon as this is over. I'm gonna like, but I was like, I didn't want Alex to be like a smoker because it's like, of course she would be, it's like, it's just what everyone does in movies. They stand on the sidewalk and smoke. And I was like, so I wanted to give her something that was like kind of like oral fixation, like a little neurotic. And I was like, oh, I'll just have her eat red vines all the time. Like instead of like, it's like, and in my head, the backstory I'd given to her was that she had like quit smoking and now she was like addicted to eating candy, And so, but it was great. And like, I thought I would get sick of them, but like I actually would just eat they would like call cut and I would just keep eating the red vines. Like I had to have red vines on standby at all times. Like the same way they have to reset cigarettes in scenes if you're smoking, they would have to like reset I would eat like half a red vine in one shot. So then they'd have to like give me like another half of a red vine, and I just got to eat like so much candy the whole time. It was great.
That's awesome.
Just like Mommy Dearest, if she didn't have one, it's like, no wire, coat hangers every time.
No, I was like, where are my red vines?
Yeah.
I still eat them all the time. I literally have a pack of red vines sitting on my nightstand next to my bed right now.
Nice. Awesome. Ben?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite sequence that we were shooting was like the first night that they spend together, where they do the drawings and stuff like that. That just felt easy, like not in the like, oh, this shit's easy kind of thing. Like it felt very easy and natural and sweet, and like getting to make believe that moment was I
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Very
like
cool.
some moments in it, like in the cut, that are like totally like just like spontaneous. Like we were like sitting there
Yeah.
doing the drawings, and like a lot of it was just like it's fun to have those moments where you're not like improving. It's not like improvisation, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like controlled improv, you know?
Yeah.
It's like we're just
Very
sitting there
cool.
drawing each other and then like start riffing, and like the moment is like totally like spontaneous and real, and that was like really nice.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I love hearing that, and again, it did feel very real, and all the character stuff you guys are talking about definitely comes through. For our last minute or so before we let you go, if you'll indulge us, every day is Halloween for us, even though it's winter as we're recording this. If we could, I'll ask each of you first: do you celebrate Halloween, and if so, what does Halloween mean to you in your life? And we'll go Elric, and then Blue, and then Ben.
Man, well, Halloween growing up in New Zealand meant nothing, but it meant something to me. So it was painful because I was born in the States but moved there when I was 5. So I would be the only person trick or treating with my friends, and we'd get to houses, and they'd be like, "Oh, just come on in," and we'd go into their houses downstairs. Open fridges, and they'd be like, "Just take whatever you want." Oh, Just Juice, sweet. Here's your Just Juice. And I look back and go, "Oh my God, we were entering strangers' houses in New Zealand because they didn't know what the hell we were doing." So it means a lot to me. I love, horror. I've spent the last decade doing horror podcasting, and just, so I love the movies. Now it's more like trick or treating. I like to go to some of the, you know the people who go all out. I don't go all out at my house, even though I wish I probably could, but I love to go check that stuff out. But
Yeah.
it's a little different having the last decade doing the horror stuff, because I'm doing it probably like you. It's every day. There's an element of, and so it makes the actual day. It's almost like it's almost weird. It's almost like a day off weirdly now.
Yeah.
It's Halloween, and you just want to kind of watch a movie and see kids dressed up. Is kind of fun. So
Nice.
Um, Halloween for me, well, in LA, for some reason, Halloween is like a 2 week thing where it's like every week, it's like
Yeah.
you gotta have like 3 different costumes. Like, I love dressing up. This year, because I cut my hair, I did Liza Minnelli, and that was really fun. But mostly it's scary movies. Like, I love scary movie horror films. Horror is my favorite genre, like, absolutely. And I've begun to like have like a scary movie like thing with all my friends. I just invite anyone who wants to come over and just like watch, like, I just every like basically like all month long it's like scary movies,
Love it.
So yeah, scary movies and dressing up. I love dressing up. I'm an actor, so
I love it. I love it. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, equally, we don't celebrate Halloween, although they do it a little bit more now. But when I was growing up, we didn't celebrate it. So it still kind of felt like something that people did in movies that you don't
Right.
do in real life, you know? But now I have a 2-year-old, so it's just all about getting to dress my 2-year-old up. But she loves it.
Yes.
So.
Yes, yes. Well, and that's great too. I've got kids too, and that's been some of our funnest times, is getting to do Halloween with them and redo a lot of our childhood stuff. So yeah, you didn't have it growing up so much, but now you get to have it now with them. That's awesome. Well, again, guys, I think that's my time today. I can't thank you all enough for hanging out with us and talking to us. The movie's great. Everybody's gonna love it this Valentine's Day on Shudder. And we always wrap up, instead of saying goodbye, because every day is Halloween anyway, I just always wrap by saying Happy Halloween.
yeah, happy Halloween.
I will.
Cheers.